Okay, sample B. Okay, so what have we got in our glass this time? Well, this is deep ruby. I cannot see the words of my systematic approach to tasting through this wine, so this is therefore deep. It is absolutely ruby. I would accept an argument for purple as well. It all depends on the light in the room on the day, but I will be tasting with you in the room at the same time. So what you see will be what I see. And I would accept an argument for purple as well with this one, because it does have a pinky glow on that rim. Okay, give the glass a swirl, have a sniff. What do we think of the intensity of this? Okay. I have to work quite hard. It's a bit more than light. Definitely in that medium category. I'd be tempted to go with medium minus. Okay, again, I think I would accept if you'd said medium, I'd have accepted that. I think if you'd said medium minus as well, I'd accept that. Light, I'm not going to accept. Pronounced, I'm not going to accept either. Or medium plus. Medium or medium minus. One of the questions I always encourage students to ask themselves first, before they start assessing the aroma characteristics, is to ask themselves whether the wine is simple or complex. The WSET will award you a mark for recognising a wine as simple if it is simple. And that's why I get you to ask that question. Sample A was not simple in the slightest. You could tell that the minute you put your nose into the glass. But this one's a bit of a struggle. The aroma is very generic. There's not a lot that you can use. There aren't a lot of words that you can use to describe this wine. And so therefore, write simple down. Straight away, write simple down. You're going to be awarded that mark. If you didn't write simple down, you wouldn't get all marks, because 1 mark for this wine is allocated to the recognition that it is simple. So you have to note that it's simple. So always ask yourself that question, simple or complex? If you think it might be simple, write that down, because 1 mark will be allocated for the description of it as simple. Okay, so we've got that it's simple. Now we've got to start trying to find another 4 aromas to describe this wine. It's not easy because, again, it is very generic. The aromas are not particularly well defined. They were superbly defined, lovely and precise on sample A that we had, but not on this one. We've got black fruit, okay, but let's try and break it down. We need to be more precise than that. The WSET expect you to be able to give more detail. So let's say blackcurrant, let's say blackberry, let's say black cherry. What it has got a lot of is vanilla. So we have got some secondary characteristics in here. We've got some vanilla in here too, and perhaps some cinnamon. Smells a bit like one of those American candles in the American candle shop, doesn't it? So I think we've got some cinnamon in here too. Okay, but we're not really, this is the definition of simple, is that we're only really covering 1 or 2, maybe 3 clusters at the most. And what have we got? We've got black fruit cluster, and we've got the oak cluster. And that's about it. So that's where we can justify the description of this wine as simple. In terms of its development, it's primary. There aren't any there aren't any tertiary characteristics on this wine. It's just primary and secondary. Okay, so primary and secondary characteristics, no tertiary. So therefore, this is a youthful wine. Right on the palate. Okay, it's dry. The acidity isn't especially marked. It's in that medium category. There's a little bit of mouth watering there, so let's say medium level of acidity. Tannin is, again, not particularly marked. There is tannin there. I think we could even say low tannin, to be honest with you. Low tannin. Medium minus body. It's not particularly full on the palate, so let's say medium minus in terms of its body. Flavor intensity, medium. Do you know what? I might even say medium minus. Again, this is where I have some flexibility in the marking key. So if you have the same query in your head and you're saying, I don't know, medium minus or is it medium? I'm really not sure. Write down the one that you're more positive about, and it's more than likely that I'll have had the same query and I'll accept medium minus from you, or I'd accept medium from another candidate. Whilst I can't accept medium minus to medium from the same candidate, I can accept medium minus from one candidate and medium from another candidate. Okay, don't put ranges in. The WSET do not accept ranges. It makes your note look confusing. You lack a little bit of professional authority if you put a range in. So be specific when it comes to your range. But it's more than likely, if there's a question mark, I'm having the same question mark, and I will allow some flexibility in the marking key for that. Okay. On the palate, let's have another taste and see what we think of those flavours. Okay. Blackcurrant, blackberry, black cherry, vanilla, cinnamon. Exactly the same as we had on the nose. No tertiary characteristics. Medium minus finish. I'd accept short as well. Medium minus or short finish. Really doesn't linger very long. In fact, the finish is slightly out of balance in that you're left with sort of the drying sensation from, even though the tannins were quite low, you're just left with that sort of feeling of tannin. The tannin in the oak is perhaps a little bit overbearing on this particular wine. It's lacking real elegance. It's a very clumsy, it's a very awkward wine. This is only of acceptable quality. The finish is too short. It's not got enough detail in its aromas and its flavour characteristics. In fact, it's unbalanced because that vanilla is just too overpowering. The acid, the tannin is too low. It doesn't have enough structure. It's a little bit awkward and clumsy. Tannin tends to give a wine precision and structure and direction, and it doesn't have any of that in it either. And it's lacking intensity, so it just is acceptable. It's not poor. It's drinkable, but it also doesn't really deliver anything that is beyond acceptable. So there we go, acceptable quality. So again, mark your tasting notes, having used that information that I've just given you in this video. Again, I'm aware I'm probably speaking a bit too quickly, but at least with a video, you have the privilege of being able to stop and rewind and rewatch things another time if you want to. But let me reveal what this wine was or is. So it's Dark Horse Cabernet Sauvignon from Central Valley. They've described this as complex, and I don't agree with that at all. It is perhaps smooth and it is perhaps bold, but I would suggest this doesn't have sufficient complexity at all to describe it as complex. But anyway, there we are. Dark Horse Cabernet Sauvignon, and from the Central Valley in California. Okay, good.